In a landmark decision on Thursday, the Federal High Court in Kano has nullified all actions taken by the Kano state government aimed at repealing the Kano Emirates Council law. The ruling delivered by Justice Abdullahi Muhammad Limang orders all parties involved to maintain status quo, effectively halting the government's efforts to dismantle the existing legal framework governing the Kano Emirates Council. Now, the court's decision comes amid significant controversy and public debate over the state's move to repeal the law. The Kano Emirates Council, a traditional institution with deep historical roots, plays a crucial role in the cultural and social fabric of the region. The attempt to repeal the law has been met with widespread criticism and opposition from various stakeholders, including traditional leaders and community members who view the council as an integral part of their heritage. Earlier, we were joined on the news by an associate counsel, Tajuddin A.O. Funshaw, and associate Towa Oseruvo Iwaja.
It's somehow funny, like many legal practitioners find it confusing, and I can categorically tell you that even senior advocates, they've also stepped and expressed their opinion about the issue. You will see that the courts did not hold that the law repealing the 2020 Kano Emirate Council law is invalid or null and void. Do you understand? But technically, if you look at what he said, because he was now questioning the assent of the bill to make it a law, that the governor ought not to assent to the law, having known that there is an existing order of the court. So you now ask yourself, what is actually the matter before the court? Was there a content proceeding that would have warranted the court making such kind of pronouncement? But these are issues, these are legal issues where the Court of Appeal will come in. And you know the law is dynamic. So the court may be right till it is tested at the Court of Appeal, but as it stands now, the decision of the court as a minister of the Temple of Justice ought to be respected. If anybody is aggrieved, which I know, parties will definitely approach the Court of Appeal on that. It's really confusing.
Hundreds of supporters of the dethroned Emir of Kano thronged his mini palace at the Gidan Serkin Nasarawa area of the state, dancing and celebrating amidst traditional fireworks in reaction to his victory at the Federal High Court. Though the celebration was carried out within the confines of the mini palace following an earlier ban on street protests by Kano state government, there was heavy police protection for the supporters to prevent a breakdown of law and order. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has reserved judgment on the appeal filed by the former Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martin Amaule, and 24 others against the Speaker of the House, Victor Okojumbo, and 5 others. The appellate court adjourned the matter, reserving judgment in the suit after parties had adopted their briefs. Our correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu, reports.
The battle between the two political factions in Rivers State began in the High Court in Port Harcourt on May the 10th, 2024. The court has stopped Martin Amehule from parading himself as Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly following a suit brought before it by the new factional Speaker of the House, Victor Jumbo, and 2 others. Justice Charles Wale, while ruling on the motion ex parte, also barred 24 other members of the Assembly from accessing the complex or carrying out any such legislative duties as elected lawmakers of the Rivers State House of Assembly. However, this decision was appealed as Martin Amehule and 24 others asked the appellate court for a stay of execution of the decision of the High Court and sought an accelerated hearing on the matter. They also urged the court to declare the decision of the State High Court null and void, saying it lacks jurisdiction to entertain the matter. The respondents, in replying to the application filed by Martin Amehule, urged the court to dismiss the appeal, for lacking in merit on grounds that the records of appeal transmitted was incompetent. The oil-rich Rivers State has been enmeshed in a political crisis since October 2023. The crisis was triggered by the struggle over who controls the political structure in the state between Governor Fubara and his predecessor, Wike. Despite a peace deal brokered by the President Tinubu, the rift continues to grow, a situation many have condemned, saying it is taking a toll on governance in the state. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
Still in Rivers State, hours after the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara swore in the 23 caretaker committee chairmen and their vices, they are yet to settle down in the various local council headquarters in the state as the police have barred them from gaining access into the premises. Meanwhile, some persons suspected to be loyalists of the immediate past Governor Nyesom Wike are reportedly still hanging around the council areas. News Central correspondent Austin Azu, who is on ground monitoring the situation in Rivers State, tells us more. Now, in the absence of that report, joining us on the news to share his thoughts is Engineer Legbosi Yamabana, Chairman, Rivers State Ethnic Youth Leaders Coalition. Hello, Legbosi. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, now, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has reserved judgment on the appeal filed by the former Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martin, and 24 others. Now, what is the mood like in the state regarding this development?
Well, the state is very peaceful as I speak to you. We are enjoying absolute peace in the state. That is the mood against the backdrop of the lies that have been told on the pages of newspaper and in the TV stations that the state is not peaceful. There is no crisis. The state is very peaceful. We are enjoying peace in the state. Everybody, residents and indigenous alike, are going about their businesses.
All right, you're saying that, that you're enjoying peace, but we've actually seen videos, we've seen pictures, even the spate of violence that's actually broken out in different local government areas in the state, but you're still saying that, there's peace. So how is that possible?
Well, there was no violence. What happened is on the 17th of this month, when the tenure of the outgone chairman and their councillors expired, the Rivers youth got intelligence, credible intelligence, that the council secretariats were being looted. And so we mobilized our youth across the states to go and find out what was actually happening, because these are properties purchased by taxpayers' money. And so it is our duty to protect those properties from being looted and carted away, because if we don't do that, it is still the money meant for the state that will be used to replace those valuables. And so when we got to for instance, I'm from Kano local government, and when we got to the local government secretariat, of the truth, that was what was going on. Properties were being looted, and we were able to safeguard the one we met on ground. And thereafter, the police came, I think, on the 18th, and barricaded the councils and asked everybody to stay off the council secretariat. And His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, has also directed that the police, which is a law enforcement agency, must be obeyed, and that everybody should keep off the council secretariat. And that is what is currently on ground. And so there's peace, and we want to commend His Excellency for that.
Okay, before you actually, give up your recommendations or commendations now, what about the police officer and the vigilante that was actually killed? The IGP went as far as saying that investigations should be carried out. Is that also fiction?
Well, that happened at Umuma, a local government area.
That's still in Rivers State, right?
That is a Rivers State, and I can tell you that that is a singular case. because the rest of the other local government were very peaceful. Even that Omuma, prior to that incident, was very peaceful. And credible intelligence available to us have it that singular scenario was created by enemies of the state so as to paint the state in bad light and portray it for what it is not. And that is, it was a grand plot by the outgone chairman, their paymaster, and of course some enemies of the state to impress on the presidency for a state of emergency to be declared. Remember, the APC in Rivers State, the factional chairman, Mr. Tony Okusha, had earlier called for a state of emergency in a swift haste. And that was what they intended to achieve. But they have failed. That plot has failed because the state is very peaceful as I speak.
Okay.
And the case is the singular situation we had is very regrettable. We condemn it. But I can tell you again, I reiterate that was done by enemies of the state and not by Rivers people or Rivers State.
Okay, now away from the alleged violence, now the newly sworn in 23 caretaker committee chairmen have been barred from the police, by the police from gaining access into the premises. What more can you tell us about that?
The police, like I said, has barricaded the council secretariats, and we are peaceful people in Rivers State. We can't go and drag or fight with the police. No, nobody will do that. His Excellency has also directed we stay off. And when, during the inauguration of the council chairman, His Excellency did mention that the council chairman can operate from anywhere in their local government areas. And that is exactly what is going to happen. What is important is that as of today, there are new caretaker committee chairmen that is administering the local government councils in Rivers State. There is no law whatsoever that says that the council chairman must operate from the secretariat. And so we are employing doctrine of necessity that the council chairman can operate from any facility within their local government councils in order to sustain the peace we currently enjoy in Rivers State. And all of this is just temporary. Very soon, the police will give way for proper for the council chairman to start using their facilities. I can tell you that.
All right.
Because that is what is going to happen.
All right, well, thank you so much, Legbosi, for joining us and speaking on this.
Thank you.
Away from that, the Nigerian Air Force has raised an alarm over the spiraling level of violence within the West African sub-region, saying this has forced the Air Force to reposition itself to be able to tackle these threats being posed by non-state actors and violent extremist groups. The Chief of Air Staff, in a chat with newsmen on efforts being put by the Air Force in the last 1 year, says that the war between Russia and Ukraine and the tensions in the Middle East is affecting global security and stability. Amadine Uyi reports.
According to the Chief of the Air Staff, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the tensions in the Middle East, including repeated coups in several West African states, are shaping events worldwide and having telling effects on the security architecture in Africa. The Air Chief, while giving an update on efforts being put in place in the last 1 year, says that this has placed a huge responsibility on the Air Force, calling for concerted efforts to curb these threats, which are already having a ripple effect on the war against terrorism and insurgency in Nigeria.
We must be proactive and intensify our efforts to meet the federal government and Nigerian citizens' expectations for an expeditious actualization of a peaceful, safe, and secure nation for prosperity to thrive.
He says that the Air Force has repositioned itself to effectively fight these threats and counter violent extremism, which is becoming more visible in the sub-region.
In the past 12 months, to enhance our gains against these threats of terrorism, insurgency, banditry, and other criminal activities, we have re-strategized and adopted new air power measures in line with my command philosophy, which is to transform the Nigerian Air Force into an agile and resilient force that effectively meets the air power demands of national security in all operational environments.
The Air Chief assured that much has been done to help the Air Force fulfill its constitutional objectives. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. A high court in Akure, the Ondo State capital, has nullified the creation of an additional 33 local council development areas by the administration of late former Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu. The presiding judge, Justice Adebusoye, who delivered the ruling on Thursday, declared the creation of the LCDAs unconstitutional and illegal. Recall that the Ondo State House of Assembly had passed the bill for the creation of the 33 additional councils on August 15, 2023, which the former Governor Rotimi Akeredolu signed in September last year. The 33 LCDAs were to coexist with the 18 local government areas, bringing the total number of local councils in the state to 51. To further discuss this, I'm joined by legal practitioner Taiwo Ojumu. Hello, Taiwo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, Taiwo, can you tell us what was the legal basis for Justice Adebusoye's dissolution of the additional 33 local council development areas?
Thank you. Yes, at the moment, I've not been able to read the full context of the judgment, but from what we know, a group of leaders from Akoko is in the north central district of the state, who felt aggrieved that the creation of the 33 SCDAs did not favor them, that they were shortchanged. They went to court. They took the state government, the Attorney General, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and of course the House of Assembly to the court, asking that the court should nullify and set aside the creation of the SCDAs on ground that it did not comply with the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution. Yes, that was basically the ground for the matter in court. Yes.
All right, so in as much as you haven't read the full context, but would you say that the necessary procedures and guidelines, were followed in the dissolution process?
Well, the thing is that from what we know, I've read in sketches the ground for the dissolution by the judge. The thing is that if you look at the provision of the provision of the Constitution, particularly Section 7 and 8, particularly Section 8, speaking of the creation of new states and the adjustment of boundaries, there are procedures that are to be followed strictly in the event that that new local government will be created. And one of such procedures, would be to carry out a referendum by two-thirds majority of the people of the area wishing to be, the area where the local government or the council is to be created. And from the fact that we have before us, no such procedure was followed. And so I understand that the court, the court has said that the creation remains inchoate and that those SDs cannot function, having not strictly complied with the provision of Section 8 of the Constitution. So yes, from the fact we have with us, those procedures were not strictly followed. The provision of Section 8 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was not strictly followed. But I believe that there will still be appeal. Just this morning, the Attorney General of the state released a press conference to his media aide, stating that it will take time to study the ratio of the judgment or the ruling of the court, and so that they will know necessary action to take. But I believe that we have not seen the end to this.
Okay.
I have very strong reason to believe that the matter will go on appeal.
All right.
But
all right,
Taiwo. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. There's a part that actually struck me. There's actually a novel area which for me is the crux of this particular issue. For me, the fact that the question of whether a governor can assent to a bill outside the state, because one of the grounds, of course, not the major ground for the setting outside of the creation of the SDAs, as stated by the court, is that...
Did the governor have the constitutional power to do that?
No. The point I'm making is that the question will be whether or not the governor can effectively sign or assent to a bill outside the shores of a state. The court has said now that the governor cannot assent to that. The fact that the governor assented to that bill outside the shores of the state, that is in Ibadan, makes it inchoate, and that it runs contrary to any known law in the state and the country. But that part is a very novel area. It has not been tested in any court so far. So that part for me is striking.
All right, Taiwo. Now, how does this dissolution, align with the principles of decentralization, autonomy, and grassroots governance enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution?
Right. Now, the thing is that if you look at the rationale behind the creation of these SCDs in the first place, it is chiefly to ensure that the development goes, that the rural part of the state actually experienced some form of growth and development too, because the state is growing bigger by the day, and that the 18 local governments in the state cannot cater for the needs of the people. And so, for me, by way of personal opinion, the dissolution of the setting aside of this SCDs looks like some steps backward. Because it will mean a lot for the people of those states. It will mean that those areas where people should feel the state presence might not feel that enough now, because it's like we are taking us back in time now. But that's personal opinion. That does not mean that the reason of the court is not sound. But like I said, I believe that we've not seen the end to this. The matter will proceed to the court of appeal, and perhaps to end at the Supreme Court. And the court at that point will be able to tell us, we will decide on where to go from there. But by way of personal opinion, I feel that it's like taking us some steps backward.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Taiwo, for speaking to us on this.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
As the nation awaits President Bola Tinubu's executive bill on a new national minimum wage to be presented to the National Assembly, citizens have called on the federal government to reconsider its early stance on paying 60,000 naira to workers. Some spoke to our correspondent in Abuja, saying that the federal government has enough resources to pay workers more wages, and urge those involved in the negotiation to take a second look at the plight of citizens. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
The tripartite committee, made up of organized labor unions, organized private sector, and representatives of the state governments, have been sitting for over 3 months to resolve the impasse between labor and the federal government over its demands for a living wage. While the federal government is insisting it will pay the sum of 62,000 naira against the 250,000 naira being proposed by labor, this many citizens have frowned at.
One day, Nigerians will react. And when Nigerians react, nobody will stop anybody. Paying someone 60,000, 62,000 naira, you look at what is happening in the country. What can that money be able to buy?
For 62,000, it's not so much of a good increase when it comes to what it was and what the present realities are. So I think the previous minimum wage was, about 30,000 or so. And when you look at that, that's like, let's say, a 100% increase. But when you also look at the prices of commodities in the market, cover that, we're talking about 200, 400% increase in literally everything in the market.
We need to work on how to reduce the amount collected by the people at the top and see how it will help to balance the imbalance we have in the economy, and see how the sectors like price monitoring control will come into play.
The minimum wage is not the main priority. I think the main priority Nigerians are facing now is hunger. If the government can make a way of kind of subsidizing the food stock in Nigeria, because if you look at it, no matter how much the amount of money you will be paid, it's insignificant, because if you go to the market now, you can't buy anything.
With the announcement of a new minimum wage imminent, some citizens are calling on the federal government to take a second look at its proposal and adjust in view of the current realities on ground, especially the rising cost of food and services in the country.
The first 2 days they say we should embark on the strike. We all know, for me, I'm suspecting that immediately after that 2 days, like I told my colleagues, that 1 week extra they are talking, they are coming back. If there is no agreement, I said it will not hold any longer. At least I've been in service for the past 30 years. I came all the way from Lagos, so we've been seeing labor strikes. But immediately labor start getting meeting with the people in the presidency. More or less, most times they are patronized. Once they are patronized them, they will relax. As far as I'm concerned, they have already relaxed.
The man that is called the labor leader, we don't even know what he is doing. He is dancing around. Today he will do this, tomorrow he will do that. Let him stand firm. Let him stand firm, like Adams Oshomole. Adams Oshomole stood on his ground and make sure that the workers at least benefited something. But this man is dancing. Tomorrow you see him in Asorok. Next tomorrow he say we have resolved. Tomorrow he will go back to Asorok. The other day he say he has resolved. That is not the way to do.
Although many experts have been speaking on the possible economic impact the new minimum wage will have on the economy, citizens are demanding a new wage that will reduce their hardship. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
And now to health updates. No fewer than 37 deaths have been recorded in the current cholera outbreak, which has hit 30 states, including Lagos and Ogun. The Lagos State Ministry of Health, in a statement on Thursday, said the state had recorded an additional 6 cholera deaths as against the previous 15, with rising cases to 401 in the state. On her part, the Ogun State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, said the state had recorded 1 death and 14 cases. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, in its recent report, said from January 1st to June 11th, 2024, over 1,141 suspected and over 65 confirmed cases of cholera, resulting in over 30 deaths, had been reported from 96 local government areas in 30 states. Away from health matters, the Nigerian Immigration High Command has raised the alarm over fake employment letters circulating around the country. The service has warned that it will prosecute anyone found involved in this fake job racket. In a statement on Thursday by the spokesman of the Immigration Service, Udo Kenneth, a Deputy Comptroller of Immigration, the job vacancies are advertised in recognized national dailies before employment is processed. He went further to say the service denies any involvement, any fraudulent scheme, and refutes the misinformation being spread on social media platforms regarding an ongoing recruitment replacement exercise. Nigeria's federal government says that it has set up mobile courts to tackle cases of gender and sexual-based violence. Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying that this will speed up access to dispensation of justice for victims in the country. News Central's Joshua Imarai has the details.
It was a parley between Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs and stakeholders in the nation's capital, Abuja. During the gathering, the minister announced the ministry would begin utilizing mobile courts to tackle minor cases of sexual and gender-based violence in the country to ensure speedy access to justice.
If we look at things in Nigeria, majority of the problems we have is mainly issue of lack of justice and consequences. It's almost 80% why a lot of people do as they wish. If we want to start solving our problems, we'll first wage against this. We will resist it. And in that way, we'll start seeing decorum. And people will start knowing that if they do commit a crime, they will definitely go in for it.
She says that the introduction of mobile courts for sexual and gender-based violence will introduce new procedures in both public and private sectors.
How will we get the mobile courts to be operational in all these issues is to have a sign we designed a sign, which all of us will agree, and pass to other members to put in hotels, schools, universities, and hospitals. We want to start from there. We have other things coming, but as soon as we settle this, we will move to the other ones, because that other ones we need to empower women before we'll be able to start enforcing it.
The minister also says the government is hoping that there will be significant changes in the country which will effectively reduce cases of sexual and gender-based violence.
This is one of the ways I feel we could start coordinating ourselves. If we do this, move on well with it, start implementation, start actions, and Nigerians are seeing it. This has branches. It's going to correct so many other things, even without us knowing it. Even our mindset, it will start changing our mindsets. Let us be Nigerians before we will be Igbo, Yoruba, outside, Effiong, anywhere.
The Minister of Women Affairs says the ministry is utilizing whistleblowing to encourage reporting of cases of child abuse and other gender-based violence. The minister emphasized that whistleblowers will be compensated, and this compensation will be reimbursed to the ministry through penalties and fines accrued from offenders. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
In Niger, torrential rains and floods have left 21 dead and nearly 6,000 people affected. The ministry said 8 people had drowned and 13 had died in houses that collapsed in storms, and another 26 people have been injured and around 4,000 cattle have been killed or lost. The Maradi region in central Niger has been worst hit by the start of the rainy season, accounting for 14 of the dead. The rainy season traditionally runs from June through September in the African nation. In 2022, about 195 people were killed and 400,000 people were affected, many of whom lost their homes. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to hold a crucial make-or-break meeting with DA leader John Steenhuisen at his residential house this morning as consultations over the executive makeup of the 7th administration kicks into high gear. President Ramaphosa is expected to unveil a new cabinet soon following his inauguration at the Union Buildings in Pretoria on Wednesday. The Democratic Alliance says the party's leader, John Steenhuisen, is still negotiating with President Cyril Ramaphosa for portfolios in his cabinet as the country waits in anticipation for an announcement of the new executive. Sources in the DA have confirmed that Steenhuisen is gunning for the key positions in the cabinet. Joining us on the news is Nosekelelo Breakfast, a political analyst. Hello, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, now, what do you think is the main agenda for, the meeting between President Ramaphosa and John Steenhuisen, and what could be the potential outcome?
Yeah, I think the elephant in the room is the composition of the cabinet in terms of who is going to form part of it. Remember, the DA and the ANC and the IFP, they've struck a deal in terms of joining forces and forming this coalition arrangement. It's one of its kind, despite the fact that there has been a coalition arrangement before in 1994. But that coalition arrangement was different in the sense that the ANC had won the elections in 1994. It was just a byproduct of the democratization process or the political transition to democracy, given the fact that we were coming from a system of oppression of apartheid. So because the ANC was pursuing an agenda of reconciliation, nation building, they decided to work side by side with the National Party that was responsible for running the apartheid government. But this one is different because one-party dominance is a thing of the past, and the hegemony of the ANC has been dealt with a blow. So in the recent general elections, there was no outright winner. Then the ANC had to get support from other political parties, in particular from the DA, which is the official opposition. So in the main, I think at the heart of this meeting will be the issue of cabinet. The other issue is that I get the sense that the DA has outmaneuvered the ANC, largely because when the DA went to the first meeting with the ANC to negotiate for this government of national unity, they brought a document to them which had provisions. And the ANC and the DA and the IFP, they signed off that document. But the challenge at the moment is that there are different understandings and interpretations about what the document means, because there have been contradictory statements that have been made by Fikile Mbalula, who's the SG of the ANC, and the leader of the DA, I think the chairperson, Helen Zille. Helen Zille says, no, the DA should be consulted in terms of decision making. The ANC cannot do as it pleases because it did not win elections outrightly.
Okay. Now, speaking of the context of these documents, or the documents that were signed by the president, how likely is it that John Steenhuisen may be eyeing key positions in the cabinet? And do you think that there might be implications, or what implications will there be, for the DA and the coalition government?
Again, that is a bone of contention, because the ANC holds a view that the Constitution says that the president has the prerogative to appoint members of the executive. The DA, on the other hand, says, yes, we appreciate that right given to the president by the Constitution, but then the ANC has to consult with us. So it's going to be interesting, seriously, how this cabinet is going to be constituted and by who and which positions. Definitely the DA will get positions, but we don't know which positions they're going to get. Is the ANC, given the fact that it is used to run government by itself, let go of strategic positions like the position of foreign affairs, the position of education, the position of defense, the Minister of Finance? Those are very strategic positions. Are they going to let go of them, or are they going to only give the ones that are not that important to other coalition partners?
All right. Now, what you actually said about, the DA boxing the ANC in a corner actually, coincides with what Helen Zille talked about the ANC needing to consult the DA for some certain things. But then I think we'd actually have to stop here. Thank you so much for speaking to us on this.
Thank you very much.
All right, in the world of sports now, Abia Warriors and El Kanemi Warriors will make history as the first two teams to play the final of Nigeria's oldest club competition after both teams came out winners in tough semi-final duels on Thursday. The Abia State Giants sailed into the final after a 4-3 penalty shootout defeat of Kano Pillars at the Lafayette City Stadium, with both teams locked at a scoreless situation after 90 minutes. Former winners El Kanemi Warriors also triumphed 5-4 via penalty shootout over Kebbi United at the NFF FIFA Goal Project in Abuja, with both teams also unable to find the net in the 90-minute regulation period. The final is scheduled for the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, on 29th June. Katsina United have named midfielder Michael Ibe as the player of the 2023-2024 season. The midfield maestro was sensational in the middle of the park with 32 appearances, recording 9 goals and 5 assists. His wonderful performances were instrumental for Katsina United's quest in finishing the first half of the table, including scoring the crucial late goal in the 2-2 draw over Shooting Stars in May. He could finish with double digits of goals when Katsina United faced Remo Stars away from home on Sunday. Lionel Messi became the player with the most appearances in Copa America history on Thursday, earning his 35th cap in the tournament's opening match against Canada. The 36-year-old previously shared the record of 34 caps with Chilean goalkeeper Sergio Livingstone, a milestone he reached in the 2021 Copa America final where Argentina defeated Brazil. Messi's appearances span 7 editions, beginning with the 2007 tournament in Venezuela. The 8-time Ballon d'Or winner could set more records this year. He needs 4 goals to tie Norberto Mendes and Brazil's Zizinho as the all-time Copa America top scorer with 17 goals. Additionally, if Argentina wins the title, Messi would become the first captain to secure back-to-back tournament victories. Still talking sports, the World Anti-Doping Agency is considering an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport after American sprinter Arian Knighton avoided a ban for testing positive for trenbolone, a muscle growth substance. Knighton tested positive in match, but an independent arbitrator ruled on June 19th that he likely consumed contaminated meat. This decision allows the 200-meter sprinter to compete in the U.S. Olympic trials starting Friday in Oregon. WADA, noting that trenbolone contamination is extremely rare, awaits the decision's breakdown before deciding on an appeal. On the same day that Knighton was cleared, China selected 11 athletes embroiled in a doping scandal for their swimming team for Paris. Both Knighton and the Chinese athletes have been cleared after positive results because of cases of contamination, but USADA, that's the United States Anti-Doping Agency Chief Executive Tigert, argues that the cases are not comparable. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Federal High Court reinstates Ado Bayero as Emir of Kano. We also told you that cholera death toll rises to 37 as Lagos records 401 cases. Finally, you heard that 21 dead, over 6,000 affected in rains and floods in Niger Republic. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.